Sentence to Prison. That was the book I found. Actually, did you find it, Tom?
No, I think
no,
you
found
me.
it. We'll explain the plot later. I'm glad that Sarah and Susan got to go in between, because I feel like I spent most of my career following in Tom Davenport's wake. I came partway through, and so I don't know whether my one important point repeats one of Tom's generous 10. But I had the pleasure and the privilege of working with Mike for, I think, an entire decade. And that was mostly in the prison program, some following programs. And it included the ramp up to and the heyday of business reengineering. So I thought I'd just share one thing that I learned working with Mike that I still try to employ, almost every day. It's Hammer's rule of research. It's very simple. It says that averages are boring. You know exactly what I mean, those of you on the prison team. Not just in the numerical sense. I think probably every course in statistics at MIT includes a reminder that the numerical average is just one bit of information. It may not tell you much, and in fact it may be misleading if in fact your data set is skewed or has some unusual distribution. Well, Mike took this concept and carried it over into our much more qualitative, case-based business research. If you came back to him with a case that was just like all the other cases he'd heard about, he was not a happy camper. The experience or the situation of the average company was really, we found it boring. It was of no particular interest. Mike was interested in the cases at the extremes. It could be the kind of serendipitous success, the grotesque failure, the noble effort. But those are the kinds of examples that triggered his interest, triggered his and therefore our creativity. Those are the examples that led us to, I think, develop some new and very useful business techniques. And ultimately, I think, to distinguish the research we did from that of other organizations that, for the most part, were doing surveys and reporting on averages. A feature of course, one of the most fun things with Mike was brainstorming. A feature of every brainstorming session was when someone would stop and say, okay, what are we going to tell Vita? Right? Vita Cassess was the CIO at Pfizer, and she was the leader of the most accomplished, most innovative IT organization we knew. And so we always had the goal, just kind of, coming up with good advice that would be useful to a lot of companies was in fact easy. Our goal, we were after bigger game, and this was pure Mike. Our goal was to come up with new ideas, fresh perspectives, new techniques for the very best companies that could make them even better. And it's kind of that high standard and high ambition that I try to emulate all the time. Or, well, not all the time, it's impossible. But actually, I was actually in a number of Mike's obituaries. It was good to see that the real underlying source of that ambition came through. And what Mike really believed, and you got this in bits and pieces, and once in a while he hammered you with it, literally and figuratively. He believed that information technology should be used for good, and therefore it should be used smartly. And it's not just for the good of businesses and their profitability, but for the good of the world, for the good of society. And I suspect that he was very intrigued by the whole social computing revolution that's going on right now. And I'm just very sorry that he's not here to help us and lead us in figuring out what it means.